everyone, it's Desiree, and I am here with Spellbinders and their card kit of the month. And as always, we are going to do a reveal and also make our 10 cards. So, let's get started. So let's get started with the contents that you will receive in your kit. This kit is called Beauty is Everywhere. As always, you get your card that will tell you what's coming in your kit, and it also provides some beautiful inspiration. Here is the cardstock. So you have an orange, a light blue, a white, black, pink, a gray, a bright pink, a gold mirror cardstock, and some bright green. As always, you will also get your card bases that are pre-scored, standard A2 size, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, along with envelopes. And these are side foldings for portrait and top holding for landscape. You get a 6x6 paper pad. Now remember, this is a paper pad. It's not a cardstock pad. So it is a lighter weight. I'm saying it's under 65 pounds, and it has some beautiful, beautiful vintage papers. Immediately fell in love with the paper pad. Just absolutely love them. For those of you that have seen my videos before, you know I do lean towards the vintage grunge style. Get a pack of sequins, both mirrored and opaque, a roll of double-sided tape, a square of double-sided foam squares, and that entire square can be used. You'll receive a packet of some chipboard frames that look like Polaroid and also regular square frames. You're going to get some butterflies. These resemble, to me, watercolor type butterflies. And then the 3D stickers. So beautiful images on those, and they are layered. My favorite are the die cuts. I love the die cut packs when it comes to this kit. And that's something that I lean towards when it comes to this kit. Collaging. That's something else that I do enjoy as well, and this is how this kit always inspires me. Your stamp set has some beautiful vintage images and a couple sentiments, and your die has a beautiful butterfly, some flowers, and a border. All right, so let's get started with our cards. So for card number 1, I'm going to use a stamp set and also one of the die cuts. So I'm going to take the love sentiment and I'm going to center that onto one of the die cut labels, and I'm going to stamp that with my VersaFine black ink. By stamping with my VersaFine black ink, I'm going to be able to use my clear embossing powder from Recollections. So I'm going to have a gloss finish. Now, while I was stamping this, the paper that you see just up in the center, up top there, the green, I was looking at that and going, some of those frames are open. So I'm going to use a couple of the butterflies, and I'm going to place them in the open frames. Now, I'm also going to continue on to put some more images onto this paper. I'm using my Simon Says Stamp clear ink, and again, I'm going to continue to use my clear embossing powder. So when you use your clear ink along with clear embossing powder, whether it's on paper or cardstock, that paper that you're putting it on will go darker. So it will give you a tone on tone effect. So in this case, this is like an aqua green. So those images are going to be just a little bit darker than that. They're not going to come popping off, but they're going to be there. Now I'm going to take some more of the images and I'm going to continue to stamp along this piece of pattern paper. So I'm creating a pattern on top of the pattern paper. How great is that? And we can do that. We can always add. I say a lot of times, let your pattern paper do the work for you, because it does. Doesn't mean we can't add to it though, if we choose to. Again, I'm going to continue to add some clear embossing powder to that, and I'm going to then heat set that as well. So you just have these faint images along the background of that pattern paper. I'm going to use my double-sided tape to adhere this onto the standard A2 size card base, All of these panels that I'm working with have been cut to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, so they will cover the front of the entire card. I'm going to remove the release paper and set that down. I'm going to take this strip and I'm going to cut it in half. I'm going to cut it, I believe it's about 1 inch. I don't measure, I just go with what I like, with what my eye tells me, but I do believe that's about 1 inch. I'm going to again use my liquid glue this time, and I'm going to use my spare foams. So I keep the foam squares from previous kits when I don't use them all, so I'm going to use those up first. I'm going to place down my sentiment right on the front, and instead of putting this strip on the front, I'm going to put this onto the inside. I very rarely decorate the inside of my cards, but please, with everything that comes into this kit, you certainly can. So with our next card, I'm going to, I can't find my double-sided tape, so I used my liquid adhesive. I'm going to place down my first piece of pattern paper, and I'm going to tear. I thoroughly enjoy tearing cardstock or paper, especially when it does have that vintage grunge look, and this does. I like the look that it provides, and why not? We can certainly do that. We don't have to have a clean edge. I took my finger along that edge just to rough it up just a little bit more, and no, you are not seeing the vintage photo. Just saying. I'm going to be adding the butterflies. I gathered all of them up from the die cuts. These are absolutely gorgeous, and I'm going to place them onto this panel as well. I'm using the double-sided foam squares for the edge of the wings for these 2 butterflies, and I'm going to put a strip, because I found my double-sided tape, I'm going to put a strip of the double-sided tape down the center so that the center of the butterfly will go directly down onto the paper. When I remove the release paper, I will be adding some liquid glue to those, because again, it'll just help for it to grab a hold of the paper, but still have that dimension and not lose the dimension. And I'm going to do that again on this butterfly as well. Just a few drops when it comes to them, and we're going to place that down into the darker paper. That is our second card. So as always, there's always one card recently that I forget to film, and this would be it. This is my landscape. So I used one of the die cut borders with one of the florals and birds, and then I took 2 of the pattern papers, layered them up together, and added a few sequins. So I do apologize. So for our next card, I'm going to add my double-sided tape to the back of my pattern paper, adhere that down onto my card base. I thought all of these pattern papers are just absolutely gorgeous. I love the feel of them. I love the look. Again, may not be for everybody, but this is something that I too gravitate to. I took another pattern paper and I cut it down. I believe this is a 3 by 3, it looks like. And I'm just going to take one of the die cut sentiments, and I'm going to use one of my spare double-sided foam squares, set that in, and I'm going to grab that flower or that floral image and tuck that right underneath that sentiment. Very simple. Again, adhering down my first panel, we're going to be tearing some more paper. A lot of these papers work very well on their own. All you need to do is cut them down to the size that you want, like this one, if you wanted to, and just add a sentiment. That's the beauty when those pattern papers have those designs on them, and they don't take up all of the real estate. They take up a section. But since it had that, I felt the need, or I chose to tear that out. I'm going to grab one of the die cut sentiments and prop it up using the double-sided foam squares. I love a lot of the patterns too. They look like vintage wallpapers, which I think is great. I'm going to add some sequins to this, and I'm using the opaque ones. For our next card, we're going to do some more collaging. I'm going to pull in one of the chipboard frames, And I took a piece of the pattern paper and just cut it down, and I'm going to set that frame right in there so that the map is sitting behind. Now, I wanted to have that Paris section in there, so I wasn't quite sure if that was going up, but it did. I'm now going to cut along the edge of this chipboard. So now it looks like that map is framed. I'm going to set that up towards the upper left-hand corner. And then I'm going to add some doilies, tickets, and a sentiment that says, write your own story. I'm not going to put any foam squares underneath the doily. I do want that to drape over it. I'm going to have the tickets come up from the top, and then I'm going to have the other ticket sit in behind the sentiment that we're going to add. I will trim off the side where those tickets are overhanging. And that is that card. Again, we always start out the same. I'm applying my pattern paper. Again, all of the pattern paper bases were cut to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Usually when I do this, I'm usually cutting them to either the 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, or I'm cutting them to 4 by 5 1/4. It all depends if I want to have a white border going around. For these, I did not, simply because they did have the vintage style theme. I've taken another piece of the pattern paper and I've cut that down a little bit smaller. I'm using one of the die cut sentiments, and I'm going to use the double-sided foam squares to prop that up onto that panel. I've chosen the black and white die cuts. Thought they would really stand out great against all of that tan and pink that's going on. And then I'm just going to glue them as if they're coming out of the sentiment. So again, lots of collaging. Remember, kits are made to go together. So sometimes I get a lot of questions, well, how do you know this goes with this? How do you know that went with that? If it's in a kit, it's designed to all go together. Whether it's the die cuts, the stickers, or the pattern paper. It doesn't matter what you choose. It's all going to match. There is a theme, a color theme as well. So not only the theme of the images, but the color theme as well. Some call it a branding kit. In a way, branding kits are used by businesses to choose their colors, their fonts, and so forth. Kits are kind of designed that same way. So everything will go together. So just keep that in mind when you have a kit. All right. Now, as you continue to work with those kits, if you choose to make that purchase, and continue to build your cards with them, you will actually get used to saying, okay, you know what? This blue will go with this purple, or this red will go with this brown. A lot of people say cool stay with cool, warm stay with warm. Well, brown is warm, red is also warm, but again, they can have their cool sides, so they can go together. For this card here, I'm doing the same technique that I did for our first. I'm just adding some of the images, and I just stamped along the background. Again, creating a stamped background collage. You don't always have to use the die cuts. If you have enough images in your stamp set or images that will work for this, you could create your own background. So I did the same thing. I stamped it with my clear ink and added my clear embossing. Figured it would accent off of the image that was already on the pattern paper and also pull out that sentiment as well. We're going to add a few sequins to this as well, just around the bird. And we're going to mix up the, I actually wanted all of them to be the mirrored sequins. Sorry if you heard me gulping, I had to take a sip of my iced tea. Again, starting out with our pattern paper. And again, these papers are great. They are so set. So many cards would be able to be made with this kit, because again, you get 2 of each of the pattern papers when it comes to your paper pad. So one set could just be the papers with a sentiment, and then you have the next set of cards that you would create using the die cuts and the stickers. So these papers are just, can't say enough about them. As you can see, I am enjoying that paper pad. I added a couple of the doilies to come off. I want the sentiment to come off of that area that's already designed. And then I chose one of the tickets to come off of that as well. So here are the 10 cards that we created featuring the Spellbinders card kit of the month for December. As always, I do hope you enjoyed these. I hope I gave you some ideas for when you receive your kit. If you're interested in getting this kit, all the links will be down below to this kit specifically, also to their blog for more inspiration, all of the other clubs, and they keep adding more kits to their club value section. So I encourage you to check that out. If you have any questions or comments, please make sure you leave those down below. And if you have a question, I will get back to you as soon as I can. Continue to enjoy your day, have fun, and please enjoy this process. Enjoy the art that you create. If you haven't already, I'd love for you to subscribe. Be part of my group here. Make sure you hit that thumbs up, and by all means, hit that bell. You may get notified by YouTube. It's always a gamble. But again, I do hope you enjoy the videos here. I know I appreciate each and every one of you for taking the time to stop by and spend just this little bit of time with me. Again, enjoy. Enjoy the holidays that are fast approaching. And until the next video, guys, take care.